Hello everybody, how's it going? Screezilla here, and I hope you're all well, and you're joining me today in the Junkers JU-288. Now, the Junkers JU-288, originally known as the B-Bomber, Bomber B, was a prototype vehicle. Now, the Bomber B was actually the original name for the HE-177, so there were actually two Bomber Bs in the world at the time. Another interesting thing about that is they both share the same twin engine design that Reich Marshal Hermann Goering was very unfond of, and that's basically the twin DB606 power plants. So what happens is you get two of these power plants, you stick them together, it becomes a much bigger engine. So you end up with 24 cylinders in each engine, and you end up with a very large engine itself, making upwards of I think it's about 19,000 kilowatts, I think. Get right. Sorry, 1900 kilowatts. I always get that wrong. So making 1,985 kilowatts, or that's 2,663 horsepower. Now we'll just switch to the underneath camera here, just so we can look at the bomb bay, because this is one of the interesting things about this plane, is the design of the bomb bay. Now, the bomb bay was actually designed so it could carry a very large bomb on board, and as you can see, we carry a very large bomb on board. We carry a 1,800 kilogram bomb, and carry two of those. Now, this plane is let me get this right now, Schnellbomber. I should have got that right. Now, Schnellbomber design concept was basically fast bomber. That's what it was. That's what it is in British. Basically, it translates to fast bomber. So the idea of this concept was a bomber that could use its speed to its advantage. So it's basically designed not to get into a conflict. It's designed not to get into a fight with the enemy. It's designed to get out of there as quick as possible. And this thing can do it. This thing has an amazing top speed. You get well over 400 miles per hour in this thing. It is just ridiculous. Sort of cruising speed, you're around 388 miles per hour, which again is bloody fast for a bomber. Now, this being a smaller, lighter bomber than the HE-177, sharing the same engine, obviously this thing is fast. However, as we know, the twin DB606 engines, the Daimler-Benz engines, did not work out too well in history. They weren't a very popular engine back when they were built. They had a very big problem with overheating, and you do have that issue with this plane. The plane does overheat an enormous amount. You've got to be really careful with the engines, and you've got to know, sort of manage them a little bit, just so you don't overheat them, especially if you're trying to get that top speed. Now, the original Bomber B concept, or I think it was the EF-74 originally named when it was in design by Junkers, it was sort of in development in the 1940s, and they were looking to get this thing going quite quickly. They basically put out a sort of, the general thing of putting out a mass appeal things for other companies to make the bombers. So you had things like the Focke-Wulf 191, the Dornier 317, and the Henschel 130. So you had those planes available, which were looking at being sort of made, but this plane pretty much had won the contest beforehand. And what the Luftwaffe wanted was a plane that was fast and capable of carrying sort of around about that 4,000 kilograms of bombs, and this was it. As you can see, this thing is very sleek. Now we're just looking at the landing gear here, and you can just see how they come down. There's that strut there that just sort of comes in from the sort of back from the engine, and it has to lock into place. and this caused a lot of problems. Just pause here for a moment and just press O, because the way this sort of slots up, there's actually a little gap. It uses sort of just a little bit between the engines as well, and it caused a lot of issue because this landing gear had a tendency to break on landing. Luckily, War Thunder doesn't have these technical problems, so landing's pretty easy. You've got a nice solid landing, and it's the twin wheel system, and it's a tail dragger, so it's pretty easy to land. You can just keep the brakes on and not really worry about a thing. The other good thing about this plane is you do have air brakes, which really helps because this thing is as slippery as an eel. It really slides through the air well, and that was what it was designed for. The cockpit was redesigned, and as you can see, it's a very beautifully curved cockpit. The only real negative part is the front section there. Just while we're looking in the cockpit, you can see that the door has actually opened underneath there as well, which is cool to see. I like it when they actually have working entrances. So you can see the door there with the ladder where the crew would climb in. Now you've got a four-man crew, I think it is. Yep, four-man crew. So you have your gunners sitting back here, and then your co-pilot / bomber, and yourself as the pilot. Now the gunners have radio-controlled guns that they use. Now the guy down here at the bottom will be controlling the lower guns, and the guy up here at the top will be controlling this gun and the tail gun. Now the tail gun was initially going to be used with a they were working on sort of closed circuit TV sort of system, so they had a camera at the back that would go through to a screen in the back so the pilot could actually see what the gun was aiming at, which was really high tech. Very high-tech sort of stuff, similar to that of the B-29s. They had similar systems where the pilots, had the ability to check on small screens to look at the guns, and that is a really neat feature. Another thing you can notice as well is there's actually a periscope up the top here, and this little periscope is designed so that the gunner can actually sort of see a bit further back as well, and again use that rear gun if the camera system fails. So really cool technology, and it's a very cool plane. This thing is very high tech, and it would have been a very devastating bomber if it actually come to pass. Now originally they were working with the Umo 222 engine, which was sort of a wonder engine at its time. It was a very decent engine. I think it was actually even running on diesel. They had like an inline diesel engine system that they were going to use, and obviously diesel has great torque and things like that, and it would have produced around about 2,000 odd horsepower, and that would have been a real big game changer for the German engines. Basically it would have been a big thing that could come in, because obviously diesel is a lot more common than petrol, some say, and also it's a lot less flammable. So if we actually got the diesel variant in the game, it would be very tricky to kill, because you would have a real hard time setting it on fire. However, setting on fire could be a real problem, and if you actually got an incendiary round to the cockpit, you'd be in real big trouble, because this was a fully pressurized cockpit. And of course, inside a fully pressurized cockpit, you've got the oxygen pumping around, and it's slightly oxygen rich. So sometimes what happens is when you get a shell landing in there, it creates a big buff of flame. So that can be a bit of a problem, and of course you get decompression as well. So we dropped a bomb there trying to kill a car. We managed to kill one car with it, so that was a bit worthless. A bit worthless of a 1,800 kilogram bomb. But we're going to go for the base. So we're going low and fast this time, and as you can see, speeds of 340 are not hard to achieve with the Daimler-Benz engines on board, and you really do have that good look of speed. The other thing on this plane is it's got decent defences. You've got twin 13mm machine guns on the top, on the front, and we're just going to set up for the bomb run here. And dropping the bomb she'll go. There she goes. turn away because cool guys don't look at explosions. On the bottom here we've got twin 13mm, and then at the back there's twin 13mm. And basically they allow for the guns to pretty much cover the whole plane, which is good coverage basically. Now, the speed of this plane is its biggest advantage, and it really is hard to catch. When you're fighting enemy planes, basically, they will struggle to catch you, and do have trouble sometimes trying to actually catch up with you. So just shooting at a car as well here. Terrible aiming by me, but we're just going to RTB now, and we'll get some more bombs, which we'll just skip that part. We'll just get back for the ending of the match. Okay, and we're back. And what we're going to do is just going to look a little bit more at the landing gear as they come out this time. So, try and get in a good position to sort of watch them as they come out. And this sort of landing gear is just amazing. Like the German sort of mind in the Second World War was pretty amazing, and they did sort of overcomplicate things quite a lot. So we're going to come in for landing. We've got our flaps down, we've got our everything down. So as you can see here, the landing gear are coming out. So we'll just slow this down a little bit and just watch how they come down. So you can see that they're actually coming down, and you can see here that the actual pole for the actual main strut of the landing gear is not actually attached yet. So this has to go down, and then it will come up and click itself into place. So as we go through this, it's going to come up, and then it will clasp itself onto the actual under part of the engine, like so. And just inside there's a little clip that it gets onto, and when it clicks onto that clip, it then basically holds itself on there. So now it's in place, and now we're ready to land. And of course this is a very complex system. This is a very complex mechanism. So in 1940, you know, this is still very complex. This is still very high-tech stuff, and it's overcomplicated in my mind. Just overcomplicated, and it caused issues because a few of the prototypes of this plane had landing gear failures. It was a big problem. Now, as I said, the main reason for this aircraft would have been to attack the British Isles. Now, as I say, it's got a pressurised cabin, so it's designed to basically go up into the sky. And we're just going to just actually pause it here for a second. We're just going to have a look in the cabin from underneath. So as you would, as a normal sort of person, so you can see here, you would come up here, and here's one of the cameras, or sort of lens finders, and then you'd climb up in here, and you've got a gunner's crotch right in your face. So this guy here is right primed to jump in and out, and he's got his gunning position here. I really do hate this camera system. So as we spin around, so you see all the dials and knobs and all of that kind of stuff that the gunners have to look at. Now this guy down here gets a great view of this guy's butt. His basic system is glancing out the side windows. Spin around, spin around, spin around. Now, of course, this isn't an HD because we're not in the actual cockpit itself. But here you can see there is the periscope up, and then there's the gunner's sight here. So he would actually be looking through the sort of periscope for the gun system here, I think, if memory serves me correct. But then he also would have the actual video camera system that this and the 117 shared. So very cool type stuff. It is a very cool plane, and I am glad it's in game. But as I'll talk about towards the end of the video a bit more. Sorry, drink quick there. The premium bombers are making way too much against the standard tech trees. Now, one other thing that I would like to say about this plane, just before we finish, is there was actually a design for an anti-ship version for this, and by God, I hope we get this in game. The anti-ship vehicle would have had a 355mm recoilless rifle on it. Yeah, so it would have had the SG-104 Murchhausen, which was going to be a big feck-off gun underneath the fuselage that would shoot ships and make them go boom. It was tested on the Dornier 217, I think. So, you know, it was originally going to, and it was going to be sort of looked at putting on this thing. Now, right now we've got the last guy in the air, the P, whatever it is, P47? Yeah, P47. P47 up, and we've got the blind hunt on him, so we can see he's coming in. Now, one of the other interesting things about this in its design was actually when it was first sort of flown, and I think this, it should get its own regular tech tree variant. I honestly believe this vehicle should get a regular tech tree variant, because it's a shame when there are vehicles that were going to be produced and they weren't, just because, you know, obviously, yeah, the war ended when they were getting produced. But vehicles like this one, you know, adding the B variant with a slightly larger airframe, and I think it had a better defensive layout, a couple of extra guns on it. Adding something like that into the tech tree, where it is a little bit slower, a little bit heavier, and not quite as good, would be absolutely fine. And I think you should absolutely have it. This vehicle, yes, it was a prototype, but it was not a paper plane. It was an actual fully built, fully used plane. And it's just daft to me that they don't have these actually in the tech tree. I mean, heck, put the Ju-88G in there, the one that was designed to have the 355mm cannon on there, you know. Put that in game as a sort of attacker, just as a random, really weird vehicle. It would be awesome. So we've got the P-47 above us. So he's diving, so we're just looking, watching him. We're going to get ready, jump in the gunner's position any moment. So got in the gunners, and we're waiting for him to get a little bit closer, and now we'll start firing. So I start firing where he's going to come from, and I immediately set him on fire. And that's the beauty of these guns, is they just set things on fire so quickly. Now he's set us on fire, and unfortunately we've got a main fuselage field fire now, so we're doomed. We're absolutely doomed for death now, and we've in fact blown up. But so is he. He was the last plane on their team, so that's a win for us and a plane kill for us. So although we're going down in flames, it wasn't a bad match for the Ju-88. Alright, let's head to the post-game screen now. So as we see, the Ju-288C is criminally good at making lions, and research points as well. I was running a 10% research point booster in that match, so only 10%. But still, 23,000. 33,000 for the actual plane that I'm researching. I got half a plane done in a single match, and I made almost 100,000 lions without a booster. Now, this wouldn't be too bad, because obviously it is a premium plane, so you do get the premium booster, and I've got free repairs still, so obviously I didn't pay the repair cost of, 11,000 lions, which is nothing really. The biggest issue here is the fact, as I would have been saying, just so you know, I'm recording this first, so I don't know what I've said yet, but I'll say it, I'm sure. Just my weird way of doing it. It's the way I do this section, at least. So, as you can see, you get the you get 559% research reward and 720% lion reward for vehicles from rank 1 to rank 5, and yeah, just insane. Like, yeah, okay, that was an okay run where I got 2 bases to, I killed all 3 bases and wasted a bomb on a vehicle. I got, I think I killed 1 ground target. I could have made a lot more, obviously. Also, I did get a crate, and it was hovering just over the million, and then it went to a Tempest, because that's how it works. Anyway, yeah, just my jaw is dropped here. This plane is criminally insane. We'll go just to the hangar quickly, because there's one thing I want to say about this. Get that reward, of course. The Ju-88 is premium bomber, 5.3. The HE-177 is a standard tech tree bomber. The repair cost for the HE-177 is almost 30,000 lions. Yet the repair cost for the Ju-88 is 11,000. You can see the problem here, obviously, can't you? Of course, the vehicle doesn't make as much money because it's not a premium, of course. That's a big thing for it. But if we look at all the other nations' planes in this rank 4 sort of area. So rank 4, we've got the PB4Y2, which has a repair cost of 12,000. And this thing has a very poor bomb load. If we look at the modifications, we can see here it has 8 1,000-pound bombs, but these are the American AN, whatever, all those numbers, M65A1 bombs, which have less TNT value to them, so less explosive mass to them than the British bombs. So that's the French one, and that has 12,000 repair costs, so it's not too bad. But you're not going to make much money with this plane. The other issue is it's very slow and it's very fragile. But you do have some good guns. This plane I have had some good times in. I've had matches where I've got 3 or 4 kills with it. It's not a terrible plane in that respect. So it's quite handy. It's not the worst bomber to make some money on. If we look at Italy, we've got the P108B Series 2. And this is a rank 4. It should really be a rank 3, I think, in all honesty, because of its BR. It's not a very high BR. It's only 3.7. So this one has a 5,000 lion repair cost. Again, this plane is sluggish. It's easy to spot, and you're generally going to get killed before you get to bases, or get sort of damaged a lot, and you're not going to get a return run. But the repair price on this vehicle is not too bad. The other thing with this vehicle is, modification-wise, if we look at the bombs, it's actually better taking out the GP50s, the 50-kilogram bombs, instead of taking out the larger bombs, because you have more explosive mass with 11 of these than you do with these. So I think I'm trying to remember now, I'm pretty sure it was 11 of these to take out a base, which means that you can take out 3 bases in one run. Whereas if you take out any of the other bombs, sorry, it's the 100s, not the 50s, it's the 100s. I was thinking that's a bit low, but yeah, take out the 100s, you've got 34 of them, and 11 of them will kill a base. You can kill 3 bases and still have 1 spare. So it's an okay plane, and an okay plane for money, but again, it's a little bit fragile. It actually lacks a front gunner, which the 1 series has. The Series 2 is the Night Bomber variant, so it has less guns because it's designed to go faster, so it is a bit quicker, but again, you're a big, easy target to hit, and generally most players will climb to that altitude and take you out pretty easily. If you're facing Germany or America, you're going to get taken out, Spitfires as well, obviously, for Britain, usually taken out before you even hit a base. If you're trying to actually fly proper and fly high, it's quite hard to reach the base before you get taken out. Japan, we have the G8N1 and the G5N1. The G5 is 12,000 Lions and has enough bombs to take out, I think it's 2 bases. Two bases with the 800 kilogram bombs. Again, a very big, slow moving, easy target. The G8N1, the original Death Star, has enough bombs to take out 1.5 bases. And the repair cost of it is 20,000 Lions. And the plane spawns on maps where you're fighting ships generally. So you can't really do much with it, because you're buggered with this plane. It really doesn't work well, and you're sort of hampered with it, so it doesn't pay off having it. Whereas if we look at the B-17 here, 6,000 Lion repair cost, it carries the 500 pound bombs. No, it's 500 pound, 500 kilogram. No, sorry, it does carry the 600 pound bombs. Sorry, the 1,000 pound bombs. So it carries 6 of the 1,000 pounders, which means you can take out 1.5 bases with it again. So it's not going to make you huge amounts of money, but you're better off with that than you are with the regular tech tree, simply because of the repair cost. That's the biggest issue, is just the repair cost here, because they've nerfed bombers by making the repair cost so high. So if you look at the Sterling repair cost, it's reasonably high for its BR, and considering it's a Sterling, it doesn't really make it very far. But we look at the rank 5 again, and we've got the Lancasters. So the Mark 1 is 15,000, the Mark 2 is 14,000. They're sort of about the same. But then you got the Lincoln, which is 22,000. The Lincoln's not bad. You can take out 3 bases and still have room for a couple of airfield drops. You can take out the general purpose bombs. The GP bombs have less TNT value to them. So you want to take out the MC bombs, which are the higher explosive mass bombs, which means you can take out more bases. They've changed it to the American version of the bomb. It was actually a general purpose. So they've actually switched the bombs around. So now you're still better off taking these bombs, because 4 of them will take out a base, and then you have more for the airfield, of course. But 20,000 Lion repair cost means that you're generally going to die, and if you die before you get to the bomb site, which generally is what's going to happen because you are rather slow and you're a very big target, you're going to make a loss on that match every time. Russia, of course. Now, they have lots of small bombers, but their main bomber is the Tu-4, of course. 31,000 Lion repair cost. Tu-2s are only a 6,000 Lion. The BE-6 is a 10,000 Lion. All the premiums are 10,000. The BE-6 is actually probably one of the better bombers, for the Russian the Russian sort of area. Just because it's such a bloody beefy thing, and also it carries a lot of decent bombs on board. You have the possibility of taking 2 1,500 kilogram bombs, which is very useful. Of course, the Tu-4 is a monster, and it carries a hell of a lot of bombs. As you can see, a lot of bombs. Sort of 8 1,000 kilogram bombs, or 15,000 kilogram bombs. Sorry, 1,500 kilogram bombs. These are a lot of bombs that can take out a lot of bases. A single one of these should take out the base, so you've got a lot left over, and plus you've got that 23mm cannon on board. But with facing jets, and generally you get taken out instantly because you're facing rank 9 jets, which is completely fair, obviously. The Tu-4 facing T2, with its missiles and stuff like that. Air-to-air missiles are very useful against big, heavy bombers like this. So pretty much you're screwed, so you just don't take it out because you cannot use it. And the rest of the Russian bombers are not really worth playing because they're not very good money makers. They just simply don't have the bomb capacity. So you kind of get to the TU4 and then it's just like, well, I can't actually use this plane because it costs too much money. Generally you make a loss with every game you play in this thing because you get taken out before you get to any bombs drops. And then we've got America, of course, who have a hell of a lot of bombers. Of course, you've got the B-17s and things like that. And well, the B-17s are not too bad on their cost until you start getting to the things like the PB-4Y and then the G variant and then the Liberator. You know, once you start getting to the rank 4 vehicles, again, you're looking at that higher repair cost. 13,000, almost 15,000, and then 55,000, which is completely fair, isn't it? Obviously, for the B29. I haven't played my B29 in forever because it's never makes it to the bases. It never makes it to its point. You get shot down too often, and you never make any money from it. And that's a problem, you know. You can't be flying a bomber that makes no money. The Ju-288 is very much a pay-to-win vehicle. It is paying to win. It's paying to make money. You're basically printing lines with this thing. And the thing with this plane is you can make a dive and get to the bases before the enemy will get there, and you're fast enough to get away from them. As you saw in that match, I was fast enough to just get away from the enemy, and I could make my second run. And that's the thing in this thing, it's very quick and nimble. It also has very good guns on board. If we look at the actual gun layout, you've got the 13mm machine guns, which are relatively powerful, and then you've got the big old 20mm at the back. But you're covered in these 13mm machine guns, which have relatively decent power behind them. If we look at the modifications and things like that, I've got it on armoured targets at the moment, which is incendiary, high explosive and incendiary shell. Could be worth going to the Universal where you got the incendiary and high explosive, but honestly I think having the tracer incendiary and the armor piercing incendiary is worth it over just the tracer incendiary. The default pack as well is tracer, armor piercing, immediate action incendiary. With the armoured, it's armor piercing tracer bullet, and then incendiary. So, you know, it's better taking the default ammo for the 13mm. Sorry, I was just working out in my head. But you get two 1800 kilogram bombs, which is enough to take out two bases without any issue. No, this thing is just ridiculous, just absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, get it basically, because Gaijin are going to nerf it or remove it from the shop. They have to, because it's just too powerful. And I know this has been said before on many other channels, so it's not just me that said it now, but this thing is just a real monster for making money. Alright guys, until next time, this is me, Carl Screezilla, out. Bye bye.